Hi, so today I'm going to give you an overview of photosynthesis. So the key cellular process identified with energy production is known as photosynthesis. It's a process in which green plants use the energy from the sun to convert water and carbon dioxide into high energy carbohydrates and oxygen. So basically, we're using the energy from the sun and converting it into food energy, basically. So if we look at the overview of photosynthesis, we have light coming in and we have water absorbed from the roots and carbon dioxide from the atmosphere entering the leaves. Okay? The chlorophyll in the leaves is used to trap the energy from the light to make food. So we add light, water, and carbon dioxide, and what is released is oxygen, and what is made is the sugars or the food needed for the plant to make all sorts of other compounds like lipids and proteins, etc. So investigating photosynthesis. It took a long time to figure out the process of photosynthesis, and it started in the 1600s with Van Helmont's experiment. He wanted to find out if plants grew by taking material out of the soil. So he determined the mass of a pot of dry soil and a small seedling. He planted the seedling in the pot and watered it regularly. After 5 years, the seedling was a small tree and had gained 75 kilograms, but the soil's mass was almost unchanged. So from this, he concluded that the gain in mass came from the water because water was the only thing that he had added. His experiment accounts for the hydrate part, or water portion of the carbohydrate produced by photosynthesis. But where does the carbon of the carbo portion come from? So he figured out that water was really important in the process of photosynthesis. Even though he didn't even know what photosynthesis was, he knew that water was a reactant in photosynthesis. So although he did not realize it, carbon dioxide in the air made a major contribution to the mass of his tree. In photosynthesis, the carbon in carbon dioxide is used to make sugars and other carbohydrates. Van Helmont had only part of the story, but he had made a major contribution to science. 100 years later, Joseph Priestley provided another insight into the process of photosynthesis. He took a candle, placed a glass jar over it, and watched as the flame gradually died out. He reasoned that the flame needed something in the air to keep it burning, and when it was used up, the flame went out. This substance was oxygen. He then placed a live sprig of mint under the jar and allowed a few days to pass. He found that the candle could be relighted and would remain lighted for a while. The mint plant had produced the substance required for burning. In other words, it had released oxygen. So what he found out was that plants release oxygen. So they take in carbon dioxide, but they release oxygen, which is what kept the candle burning. So he put the candle in. He also included a mouse, which was not in your notes. And after a while, the flame went out and the mouse died. But if you added the mint leaf, both the candle and the mouse survived and stayed lit for a while. Even later, another scientist showed that the effect observed by Priestley occurred only when the plant was exposed to light. So if the plant was in darkness, it couldn't survive and the candle went out. So the results of both of these experiments show that light is necessary for the plants to produce oxygen. So the experiments performed by Van Helmont, Priestley, and Ingenhousz led to work by other scientists who finally discovered that in the presence of light, plants transform carbon dioxide and water into carbohydrates, and they also release oxygen. So this is the main point from all these experiments. This is the overview of photosynthesis. And photosynthesis equation is 6 carbon dioxide molecules, 6 water molecules in the presence of light, make 1 glucose molecule, C6H12O6, and 6 oxygen molecules. So carbon dioxide plus water in the presence of light makes sugar and oxygen. Photosynthesis uses the energy of sunlight to convert water and carbon dioxide into high-energy sugars and oxygen. So if we look at an overview of the reactions involved in photosynthesis, we start with the light-dependent reactions in the thylakoids. Okay, so we get light energy coming in, plus the presence of water, and what's released is oxygen, and what's made from these light-dependent reactions in the thylakoids, which we'll talk about in the next section, is ATP and NADPH. Okay? So water comes in, light comes in, oxygen's released, and ATP and NADPH are made. These products then go to the Calvin cycle, also known as light-independent reactions in the stroma. So ATP and NADPH, along with carbon dioxide and water, go into the Calvin cycle to make our main product, which is sugar, which is the food that the plants need. Okay? The other products are ADP and NADP+, which go back to the light-dependent reactions, and we start all over again. So in addition to water and carbon dioxide, photosynthesis also requires light and chlorophyll. Plants gather the sun's energy with light-absorbing molecules called pigments. Chlorophyll is a pigment. Okay, the main pigment in plants is chlorophyll. There are two main types, A and B. Chlorophyll absorbs light while in the blue, violet, and red regions of the visible spectrum. So chlorophyll A and B absorb violet and blue light along with red light. Okay? Chlorophyll does not absorb light while in the green region, so there's really no light absorption here. So green light is actually reflected by the leaves, which is why plants look green. So instead of being absorbed, green light's reflected, which is why plants look green. So light is a form of energy, so any compound that absorbs light also absorbs energy from that light. So when chlorophyll absorbs the light, much of the energy is transferred directly to electrons in the chlorophyll molecule, raising the energy levels of these electrons. So chlorophyll traps this energy and produces high energy electrons. These electrons are then what makes photosynthesis work. It's what gives photosynthesis the energy it needs to produce sugar. And that is all for today. Thanks for watching.